I guess this is just a vent post. I am not particularly looking for answers, but tips and advice are always welcome, of course. I just wanted to get some things off my chest. My boyfriend, who is 29, and I, who am 25, got an apartment together in October. It is our first apartment together. Before this, I would go to his place pretty much every day after work to hang out with him. I should be clear. We used to work together, but I switched jobs around September. Dating coworkers is not ideal, and yes, I learned that lesson the hard way. Anyway, we had been doing that for months before finally moving in together. When we first started spending time together, I thought he was very funny and kind. At the time, I thought we had a lot in common, though now I am less sure about that. In the beginning, he always made sure I was fed. He made me food, bought me food. We never went out much, but I remember getting dressed up on weekends just to go to a shop together and pick something up. He even used to tell me I looked pretty. I felt cared for and loved, and I genuinely appreciated that from him. Looking back, I should have paid more attention to certain things from the start. He was a little messy and disorganized. We never went out and did the kinds of things couples typically do. No dates, no movies, no picnics, nothing like that. I am not saying you have to spend a lot of money to have a good relationship. I just enjoy doing things together with someone, even if it is just walking to the park and talking about things that matter. I also should have taken more seriously the fact that he smokes marijuana all day, every day, and that he spends hours in front of his computer watching streamers or short videos online and playing games. I have nothing against any of that in moderation, but not every single day. That is a different story. When it came time to move into the apartment, I moved in first. He took a few weeks to pack up his things. Some nights he would sleep over before officially moving in, and that is when I started to realize I had probably let my heart override my better judgment. The apartment became a mess almost instantly. Around that time, I introduced him to my friends. He made some comments about my friends that concerned me, dismissive jokes about them that revealed a side of him I had not seen before. As someone who had previously been in a 2-year toxic relationship, I know how these things tend to begin. The little comments, the little jokes, they are never really just jokes. I started to worry I was about to be stuck with someone insecure and small-minded, but I had already signed the lease with him. Another lesson learned. To his credit, he is not abusive, but I had begun to worry about where things might go. Before we officially moved in together, I sat him down and had a calm, mature conversation about my concerns. I told him I did not want to be with another insecure or jealous person, that I wanted a healthy relationship, and that keeping the apartment clean was important to me. We actually had a really good talk. No arguing, no tension, and I felt relieved that we seemed to be on the same page. We set a few rules together: smoking only outside, cooking and eating healthier since he has health issues, and a habit of eating fast food constantly, keeping the apartment clean, splitting bills equally, working out, finding new hobbies, and most of all, supporting each other in becoming better versions of ourselves. I felt hopeful. Fast forward to now. Nothing has changed. He does not go out and does not want to. He is still in front of that computer all day. He has never made the bed, not once. I tested this at one point and deliberately left the sheets off the mattress for an entire week just to see if he would take any initiative. He did not. We slept on a bare mattress. I am constantly picking his clothes up off the floor throughout the whole apartment. I am cleaning grease splatters and dried juice spills off the kitchen counters. I am hunting down dishes because he keeps them stacked up at his desk, which is about 10 steps from the sink in a one-bedroom apartment. When I finally collect them, it takes forever to scrub the dried food off. He has been living out of his laundry hamper and piles of clothes on the floor since we moved in, even though he has a dresser and plenty of hangers. I have to clean the bathroom sink regularly because when he shaves, the little hairs end up everywhere. The toilet is consistently in a state that is difficult to describe politely. If you are standing at the toilet every day and something lands on the seat or rim, you wipe it off. That is just basic awareness. He does not. I make dinner almost every night. Healthy meals too. One time, I came home late and noticed he had not touched his dinner. I figured maybe he was not hungry. Then I found a fast food bag. He is still eating fast food every single day, sometimes multiple fast food meals in one day. I do not care what someone chooses to eat as a personal matter, but he has health issues that are getting progressively worse, and his doctor has told him directly that improving his diet and exercising would make a significant difference. He does nothing about it. He has been saying he will start working out since the July before we even moved in together. Nothing. I have never yelled at him about any of this. I have never gotten angry at him out loud. I am a calm person who dislikes conflict, and I tend to keep my negative feelings to myself. I have asked him politely about things. I have tried dropping hints. I have done things for him hoping it might inspire some reciprocity. Nothing works. I have started adjusting my own behavior in response. I stopped cleaning up after him. I step over his clothes rather than picking them up. I leave the bottles and cans piling up at his desk. I only make my side of the bed. I still clean the bathroom and collect the dishes, but beyond that, I have largely stopped. The issue is that it does not feel fair to either of us this way. If I do not want to look at the mess, how is it fair for me to be the one cleaning it up every day? But if I do nothing about it, I have to live with the mess anyway. There is no good option here. On top of everything, he has recently started taking his phone with him everywhere. Into the bathroom, out of reach, screen down. He was never like that before. He used to not think twice about it. Now he is quick to grab it if it is near me. I am not a jealous person. I do not go through people's phones, and I genuinely believe that if someone is going to be unfaithful, there is nothing you can do to stop it. But the change in behavior is noticeable. I have started mirroring it, keeping my own phone closer, facing it down, taking it to the bathroom, mostly just to see if he notices or reacts. He barely does. Meanwhile, he asks me who I am texting, tells me when someone is calling me, has asked me to read certain messages out loud. I have nothing to hide, but the double standard is not lost on me. There are other things that bother me. When I graduated, he did not come. I told him he did not have to, but honestly I said that because it was so obvious he did not want to be there. The relief on his face when I said he was off the hook said everything. He will not meet my father. He says he wants to lose weight first, which is a reason I find difficult to take seriously. If he wanted to meet my father, he would find a way. He rarely wants to come with me anywhere, even to run a basic errand. He prefers to nap. Our physical relationship is something I will not go into in great detail, but it is not what it should be either. He has taken his female friend out to dinner, a friend who, when we ran into her at a shop, acted as though I did not exist. Make of that what you will. We had agreed to do small things together for our first Halloween and our first Christmas together, carving pumpkins, making gingerbread houses, things like that. None of it happened. I spend most of my time with my own friends now because I cannot stand being in that apartment doing nothing all day. I know I'm not perfect, but I cook real meals. I show up. I make an effort. I think about the person I am with and try to make them feel cared for. I give space and privacy. I do not create drama. I take care of myself. I genuinely believe I am a good partner, and I believe I deserve someone who acts like one in return. Our lease ends in November. I am not going to break up with him before then, because the situation is complicated, and I have tried talking, and it has not changed anything. What I do know is this. I did this to myself by not paying more attention earlier, and I have learned from it. Do not sign a lease with someone you have not observed closely. Do not date coworkers. If someone is messy before you live together, they will be messy after. Do not let feelings override your observations. A person who genuinely loves you will want to make an effort for you and for themselves. There are good people out there. Do not fight for love from someone who is not willing to meet you halfway. And above all, no insecure people. Please learn from my experience. I know this might seem basic or whatever, but I feel like I am going insane, and I need some unbiased opinions. I have created this throwaway account just for this, I do not even know where to start, so I will start at the beginning. I have known him since I was 16 years old. I had finished high school early and was taking college courses at the community college where my mother works. I had no real sense of direction at that point in my life, but I loved theater, so I enrolled in a theater class. One morning before my first class, while I was sitting in my mother's office, she mentioned her boss's son, who was also starting college that same day. I thought nothing of it and went on with my morning. My second class of the day was the theater class. I went in and sat in the front row of the auditorium, waiting for things to get started. Right as the professor began calling roll, a tall boy with curly hair walked in late and took a seat by himself near the back. I just remember thinking he was incredibly attractive. I was happy to have a class crush, something to make me actually want to show up to school. After class, I started making my way back to my mother's office for lunch, and I noticed he was walking in the same direction. It suddenly hit me that he had the same name as my mother's boss's son. Right at that moment, he turned and asked me if I was my mother's daughter. I said yes. We started talking, and eventually went our separate ways to our mother's offices, which turned out to be right next door to each other. The next class, we walked to our mother's offices together, and then we just kept doing that every day. Walking together turned into going to lunch together after class, which eventually turned into him driving me home, even though it was significantly out of his way. He lives an hour and a half from my house. The college sits roughly in the middle for both of us. He became my best friend. At some point, the classroom crush I had on him faded into the background, buried under everything else we had built. We talked every single day, about everything and anything. He was the first person I ever truly opened up to, especially after coming out of a previous relationship that had been controlling and abusive. We would have sleepovers and just lie in bed talking for hours, about nothing in particular, and I think I can still recall nearly every word that was ever exchanged between us. Neither of us really dated anyone seriously. We would go out on dates with other people and then have a sleepover afterward to talk about how it went. And for some reason, whenever we talked to each other about those dates, we could never talk about what went well, only what went wrong. I think we both knew, for a long time, that there was something underneath all of it. And I also think we were both too afraid to be the first one to say it out loud. At some point, I made a quiet decision to push everything I felt deep down and pretend it did not exist. I told myself I could pretend that every time his skin accidentally brushed mine, I did not feel something electric. I told myself I could pretend I did not want to look into his eyes until the world stopped making sense around me. I told myself I could pretend I did not want him, and only him. About a year ago, we got into a major fight. We fight all the time. It has always been part of how we work. And we both always know it is never truly serious and that we will get past it. But this time was different. He had just started seeing a new girl, and it was becoming serious. For a reason I could not fully understand at the time, I started seeing someone too, and every time he would bring her up, I would respond by bringing up the guy I was seeing, multiplied. We ended up in a huge fight. We were both drunk and stumbling into my house. The girl he was seeing was blowing up his phone, and I felt a deep sadness that I tried to tell myself was about her. And it partly was. That was not a lie. We started fighting about something ridiculous which somehow shifted into fighting about the people we were each seeing. I kept telling myself, this is not a fight that friends have. Why are we fighting about this? He called a car to go home, and we did not speak for 22 days, 13 hours, and 46 minutes. During every one of those days, all I could think about was how much I missed him and how desperately I wanted to say I was sorry and fix everything. We are similar in that way. Neither of us likes to be the first to admit when we were wrong. But every night during those 22 days, I would type out an apology, only to delete it, because somewhere in the message, I kept finding the words, I love you. Around the 2-week mark, it started shifting to something else entirely. The words I kept writing were, I am in love with you. I still could not rationalize it. I still told myself he was my best friend and that I could not feel this way about him. But at the same time, for the first time in my life, I did not want it to be rational. I do not know why it took me 4 years to finally see what had been in front of me the entire time. But now that I see it, it is all I see. This past month, he started seeing someone new, and she is now his girlfriend. She is wonderful, genuinely kind and funny and beautiful, and I want to dislike her, but I simply cannot. Tonight he called me. We have not talked as much since he started dating her. We have both been going on our own separate dates with other people, and tonight we ended up talking about our respective relationships. He told me things between him and his girlfriend have not been completely smooth lately, and he needed to talk it through. Instead of telling him to end things and come to me the way part of me wanted to, I gave him genuine advice. Because before I was in love with him, I loved him. Simply and completely. That has not gone anywhere. Then he told me that he had been thinking for a while that if neither of us were married by the age of 35, we should marry each other. I gave him several reasons why that was not a good idea. He had a thoughtful response to every single one of them. I did not know what to say. I told him I had arrived home and needed to go inside. The truth was I had been parked in my driveway for 30 minutes, sitting in my car while the food I picked up was getting cold, because I missed his voice and did not want to hang up. What I wanted to say was, I cannot agree to marry you as a backup plan because I want to marry you as a choice. We are going to Italy together in March. I do not know how I am going to survive a full week staying in the same room as him without completely falling apart. The strangest part of this trip is that I already had plans for spring break, but he asked me to go with him instead. He said it casually, but his eyes, I have caught him looking at me a certain way before, in passing, in small moments and glances, that would never mean anything on their own. But when I saw it fully, and unrelenting, I could not say no. The next thing I knew, he was buying me a plane ticket, and we were planning our itinerary together. In 6 months, I am moving back to my hometown, which is 922 miles away. We do not talk about it much, and I think that is because neither of us wants to think about what it will feel like when the distance between us is 13 hours instead of 1.5. I miss him already, and I know it is going to be so much worse. Part of me does not want to leave, but I cannot stay without a reason to, and loving him in secret is not enough of a reason, not for a decision that big. Sometimes I catch myself imagining what it will be like when he visits, or when I come back home after I'm gone. The new things we will have to tell each other, the way we will laugh like no time has passed at all, how the yearly visits will slowly turn into visits every other year, how we will promise every time to keep in better touch, but our lives outside of each other will always get in the way, how his smile will still make me feel like there is nothing I would not do to keep it there. If there are two things I know about this world, they are these: that I love him completely and without reservation, and that there is no version of this story where it actually works out. I do not think I have managed to describe how I feel about him with any real justice. Just know that if I had to choose between letting the world end and simply getting to hold him one more time, the world would burn. I just want to know what to do. I cannot keep carrying this much longer. But I do not want to ruin what he has with his girlfriend, and I do not want to ruin our friendship, because I have never had someone care about me the way he does. I cannot lose him. But I also cannot love him out loud. And those two things are completely at odds with each other. So please, strangers of the internet, what do I do? Do I tell him, just to feel brief relief? Or do I keep suffering in silence? Let me tell you everything about it. It all started in May 2022. I was in Nainital, enjoying a trip with my family. I had just gotten back to my hotel room after paragliding. We were in a talking phase at that point, meaning we had been getting to know each other but had not made anything official. Around 8 in the evening, my best friend called me and said, "Do you know that Aditi likes you? You have to go out with her." I replied, "Does she really like me? Aditi?" He confirmed it. Then after a little while, she messaged me asking what I was doing. I was in the hotel, having dinner and enjoying the evening. At exactly 10 past 10 at night, she sent me a message saying hi, like she always did. I already knew she liked me. We had a perfectly normal conversation. "What are you doing? How was your day? The usual. Then finally, at 13 minutes past 10, she said it. She told me she liked me as more than a friend. I felt numb. No strong reaction came from me. I just told her I liked her too. I asked her what she wanted to do next. She said she wanted to be in a relationship. We both agreed. Then, at around 25 minutes past 10, I told her I loved her and sent her a heart. That emoji became our favorite symbol in the beginning. She replied saying she loved herself. I told her I would come and hug her when I got back. I went back to my hometown. She lived in the same hometown. I had almost forgotten to mention that. We were in the 10th grade when we started things. We began on a very good note. Late night calls, getting to know each other in every way. She was the one who taught me about how a lot of things in life work, things I had never really understood before. I felt like she was the one. Everything seemed wonderful. 2 months in, we had our first kiss. It felt like nothing else in the world. Nothing could have prepared me for that feeling. We hugged first, then both of us asked each other if we were sure. We both said yes. Our lips touched. It was the best feeling of my life. We started kissing regularly after that. Every day after coaching, spending time together, being close. Then when the 6th month started, we became more physically intimate with each other, which we both wanted and agreed to. But what I did not know was that she had started talking to my best friend behind my back. They never became physical, but they were talking to each other the same way she talked to me. Things continued like that until our 10th grade results came in. After that, we both went to a different city together for coaching to prepare for engineering entrance exams. Things were going well. But then, a few days after our first anniversary, I found out about what had been happening. Things got very complicated. We broke up, but only for about 2 hours. I messaged her and asked if she would ever do something like this again in her life. She said no, never again. We got back together. Things seemed to get back on track. But I later found out that she and my best friend had started talking again. Not regularly, but sometimes through a different account. When we were coming up on our second anniversary, I told her that I had been talking to my former girlfriend, who had helped me through some emotional difficulty. She broke up with me over that, and we were apart for a month. Then came a twist. She had been using an online chatting platform where she would talk to random strangers. One of those people was a guy she referred to as Sean. During the time of that breakup, we were still in contact, and she was being warm and friendly to me, but every now and then, her behavior would shift in ways that felt off and unusual. I could sense something was not right. One day, I had had enough. I caught up to her on the road as she was heading to her coaching classes. I asked her to come with me, and we went to a nearby park. I asked her what was going on and why she had been acting so differently. She told me she did not want to be with me anymore. She also said her mother's health had not been good and that her family had found out about us on multiple occasions before. She was crying as she said all of this. We walked away from the park together and got something to eat. Then I asked her for her phone because something felt off. I went through it and found nothing suspicious on the surface. But I noticed that a certain application had been uninstalled. I asked her why it was missing. She stumbled over her answer. I reinstalled it. She became very visibly nervous. I asked again what was going on. She stayed quiet. I pressed her once more. She finally told me she had been talking to a guy. I asked her what was in the messages. She admitted that she had sent him intimate images of herself. I logged into the application and saw that she was not lying. I stood up immediately and walked away, taking her phone with me. She ran after me. In that moment, overcome with anger and hurt, I made a terrible mistake. One I deeply regret. I also called the guy and told him never to contact her again. He immediately blocked her, deleted everything, and disappeared. She was crying very hard, and I could not stand to see her like that. I went to her, wiped her tears, and asked if she wanted to be with me. She said no. I pushed too hard. I should not have. It was late, and she needed to go back to her dormitory. She left, and on the way she called her brother and only told him about my mistake. not about what had led up to it. I had made a terrible decision in that moment of anger, and I carry the shame of that. The next day, I went back hoping to meet her and work things out. I was being persistent in a way that I should not have been. She ended up contacting the student welfare office at the institution. They got involved and held me there for questioning. Everything came out. I was left alone for a day with no one. The following day, after classes ended, I saw her and we talked. We sorted some things out. Later that night, I called her from a friend's phone and asked if we could unblock each other. She agreed. We had a good conversation. We both agreed to try to be friends again and to work things out. 2 months later, we were both traveling back to our hometown together, and on the return trip to the coaching city, she told me her family had found out about everything. I believed her and stood by her for 2 days. Then something happened that made me realize she might not be telling the full truth. Her phone buzzed while we were talking, and I could tell it was from somewhere she did not want me to see. I tried calling her again and again, but she did not answer. Instead, she called her older brother, who told me that if I contacted her again, he would tell my family everything. I stepped back. But the very next day she called me herself, asking if I had studied for an upcoming test and to do well. I melted. We started fresh again. Things were genuinely good for a while. Then, about 2 weeks before writing this, we had a fight. About a month earlier, I had noticed an unfamiliar number saved in her messaging application, and contacts only appear there if they are saved on your phone. I asked her about it. She said she did not know. We fought about it repeatedly. Then one day I came across something on a social media platform that looked very similar to her, and I became deeply concerned. I went to her immediately, not to accuse her of anything, but to ask if someone had taken something from her without her consent, or if something from before was circulating. She did not let me finish the sentence. She assumed I was accusing her of posting it herself, and the argument escalated. We broke up again. All I wanted was for her to be safe. I wanted to check whether something private of hers had gotten out. That was all. But now she is not responding to me, not showing any interest in talking, and I do not know what to do. I begged her. I tried everything I could think of. Things became increasingly intense and unhealthy. I was calling constantly, reaching out through every possible way. Eventually, I made another mistake that I regret. I called her mother and told her everything. Our parents became involved, and the situation was shut down. Around my birthday, I contacted her through a number she did not recognize. She picked up. I just took a deep breath and ended the call. Then she activated an account only the two of us knew about. We talked again for a week or two, but now she is in a new relationship. I do not know what to do. I am completely numb. I know I will not be able to be with anyone else after this. This was my first relationship, and it feels like it will be my last. I did everything I would have done for you. I know it was not always easy to be with me, and I know things got difficult and painful. I wanted us to be together forever. Goodbye. I hope we never have to see each other again in pain. I love you with all my heart. I hope he treats you the way you deserve to be treated. Goodbye, my love. My partner and I are both 25 years old, and I have a growing bad feeling about one of her friends that I cannot shake. I am going to change the names for the sake of privacy. My name is Tina, my girlfriend is Sarah, and her friend is Gretchen. Sarah and I have been dating for a little over a year. We both met after moving to the same state from different places. The friend in question, Gretchen, lives in the state where Sarah used to live before she moved. Sarah and Gretchen used to be co-workers. Sarah's previous partner cheated on her very badly, and Gretchen was apparently the person who exposed what was happening and told Sarah the truth, which is why they remained close friends even after Sarah moved away. When I first started dating Sarah, she told me that she and Gretchen were very close friends and explained why. She then mentioned that at some point she and Gretchen had made an agreement that if they were both still single by a certain age, they would get married. Sarah did not say this to me in a joking or casual tone. She did not add that it was not serious or that it was something they had decided a long time ago and did not really mean anymore. She simply looked me in the face and told me plainly that she and her friend Gretchen had a marriage pact. I did not say much in response and did not feel deeply upset by it at the time, beyond a small sense of insecurity that I blamed myself for. I gave Sarah the benefit of the doubt and assumed the agreement was not serious, that it was something said before Sarah had moved and before she had met me, and therefore not relevant or meaningful anymore. I let it go. A bit later in our relationship, Sarah was getting ready to take me paddleboarding when Gretchen called her on video chat just to catch up and see what Sarah was doing. Sarah told her she was taking me paddleboarding that day. Gretchen's response was to say that she hoped the two of us would drown. Sarah laughed and told her not to say that. Gretchen then went on about how she wished she was out kayaking with a girlfriend of her own. For context, the person Gretchen is currently romantically involved with is someone she has an unstable, inconsistent situation with, someone who has not been loyal to her. I was overhearing this conversation from the bathroom. I felt that same small twinge of insecurity again, but I chose not to say anything and decided I was probably being too sensitive. Gretchen was likely just reacting to her own frustration about her situation. Sarah and I did not discuss the call afterward and went on to have a good evening together. Then Sarah took me on a trip to the state where she used to live, and I finally got to meet Gretchen in person. That is where the quiet, nagging feeling I had been carrying developed into something I could no longer dismiss as just insecurity. Meeting Gretchen in person, she seemed pleasant enough. Her presence was neutral, and she was not unkind. What ended up bothering me was not Gretchen's behavior. It was Sarah's. When we all went to breakfast together that first morning, we were in a good mood and having a nice conversation. At some point, Sarah and Gretchen started playfully arguing about something small. In the middle of it, Sarah exclaimed the word divorced to Gretchen, clearly a reference to their marriage pact, used as part of the joke. There was a brief moment of silence, and both of them could see my expression. I still did not say anything. It felt petty in the moment to make a big deal of a small joke, even if it stung. I let it go again and we continued on with the trip. We saw Gretchen one final time before heading home, for dinner that evening. At the dinner table, Sarah asked Gretchen if she could browse profiles on Gretchen's dating app account. Right in front of me, Sarah began pointing out women she found attractive on Gretchen's phone, and the two of them had a full conversation about it. I was already upset with Sarah about separate issues in our relationship that we had discussed, and this felt either deliberately careless or genuinely disrespectful. I did not speak for the rest of that night. I want to be honest with myself here. I understand that a large part of the reason this friendship has been allowed to make me feel this way is because I kept choosing not to speak up. That is on me. I was too anxious, too uncertain, and too afraid of seeming insecure or petty. But I also want to acknowledge what I was feeling, because those feelings were real, and I think they were telling me something. I waited a while before I addressed any of it with Sarah. When I finally did, we were already in the middle of arguing about something else, and I was overwhelmed. I did not bring up the specific incidents involving Gretchen the way I should have. Several months later, Gretchen came to visit Sarah in town. Sarah mentioned it to me one morning in bed, very casually, right after waking up. Just that Gretchen would be flying in soon, and then went back to sleep. Beyond that, she barely brought it up. The one thing she did mention was that Gretchen had bought a cowboy hat for the trip. I also noticed that Sarah ordered new bedsheets for herself, and waited until the day before Gretchen's arrival to change them. Sarah did ask me to spend time with her and Gretchen while she was visiting. I declined, because I did not want a repeat of the previous visit. Sarah told me she planned to sleep on the couch during Gretchen's stay, but also casually complained about Gretchen snoring and talking in her sleep. When Sarah asked why I did not want to join them, I made the mistake of laying out all of my concerns about the friendship at once. At the worst possible time, while her friend was already in town. I know that was poor timing on my part, and I own that. It was a combination of suppressed feelings, anxiety, and emotional immaturity all coming out sideways. Sarah's explanations were as follows. She told me the marriage pact had been a complete joke all along, and that she only said it the way she did to Gretchen to comfort her when her ex had broken up with her. She told me she went through Gretchen's dating app account because Gretchen is not good at selecting compatible people and needed help. She also said that Gretchen actually wants to marry a wealthy older man. Though Gretchen's dating history has been predominantly with women, and her preferences on the app were set to women around her own age. As for the snoring, Sarah said she knew about it because she had stayed up late playing a video game beside Gretchen while she slept, and then moved to the couch. There was a reasonable explanation offered for changing the sheets before a houseguest. But aside from that one, the rest of the explanations did not sit right with me. I did not end up seeing either of them while Gretchen was visiting. I chose to pick up extra work instead. Now Gretchen is entering the Navy. Sarah has been expressing genuine worry about Gretchen being in confined spaces with men and potentially being assaulted while serving. On the surface, I understand that a partner being worried about their friend's safety should not be something that upsets me. But here is why it does. For one of my Christmas gifts this year, Sarah got me a pepper spray. When she handed it to me, she made a joke about using the dye in it to mark someone's face if I was ever in danger of being assaulted. I was hurt by that comment in the moment, but did not fully process how wrong it was until I noticed how differently Sarah speaks about the same kind of concern when it involves Gretchen. The contrast became impossible to ignore. I am now in a place where I genuinely believe my girlfriend may have feelings for Gretchen that go beyond friendship, possibly emotional, possibly more than that, and that this has been present throughout the entirety of our relationship. I have tried to rationalize this friendship to myself many times. I have told myself I am being insecure and reading into things that are not there. But the feeling in my body has been loud and persistent, and it keeps telling me something different. I want to acknowledge clearly that I have not handled any of this well. I had multiple opportunities to speak up and advocate for myself, and I did not take them. I let things build and then address them at the worst possible moment. That is on me. The anxiety, the avoidance, the silence, I own all of it. But I also know what I have seen and what I have felt. The marriage pact delivered without so much as a smile. The comment about drowning, the word used as part of a joke that only makes sense if the pact is real to both of them. The browsing through a dating app in front of me. The new sheets. The sleep snoring that was somehow known. The genuine warmth directed toward Gretchen alongside a thoughtless joke made at my expense when giving me a gift, meant to protect me. If I have put all of these things together and catastrophized them out of insecurity, I genuinely want to know. I am sharing all of this because I am finally finding the courage to stop ignoring what I feel. Drop whatever perspective you have. Validation, honesty, criticism, advice. I want to hear it. Thank you for reading.